What's going on, Notre Dame fans? Previewing the Fighting Irish heading to Purdue, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff on CBS. Notre Dame and Purdue playing on CBS. That's the most 2024 thing I've ever heard. Let's get into three keys to the game and a score prediction with Tyler Horka this week, folks. Please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content. Head over to blueandgold.com for much more coverage of your Fighting Irish. The first key here, Tyler, is not a surprise at all. It's exactly what it should be. It's competent quarterback play.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it sounds like. Notre Dame did not get that against Northern Illinois to an extent. It didn't even get it for large stretches against Texas A&M. I don't want to say that Notre Dame won that game in spite of the quarterback play, but outside of a couple really key throws, we talk about the Jaden Greathouse third down, the Bo Collins throw it up and let him make a play. Remember what we were talking about in that game for most of it, Mike, was what's going on with Riley Leonard? Is he ready for this moment? Is he the quarterback that Notre Dame wanted to go out and get? All of those things. I mean, that was very much shown against NIU to an even greater extent, and that leaves you wondering what's going to happen against Purdue. But look, Purdue had the 97th passing defense in the country last year in terms of yards allowed per game. Northern Illinois was 6th, I believe, in that regard. So you actually went against a decent Northern Illinois passing defense last week. Obviously, some of that was Notre Dame's own doing, Riley Leonard's own doing. But if there's ever a get-right game, it's this one against a Purdue defense that, yes, they have an All-American and Dylan Thieneman back there, but it's really the only guy that they got, and you can kind of pick on some of these Purdue Boilermaker defensive backs. So if it's not happening, Riley Leonard obviously sounds like he's going to start this game. I've heard you say on a couple other videos, Mike, and I totally agree with you. It's got to be a short leash for Riley Leonard, because if you're not getting that competent quarterback play, you got to go to Steve Angeli. You got to see if he's the one that's going to give it to you, because at the end of the day, I don't care who you're playing, Mike, you got to have a solid QB. You got to have a solid signal caller back there, and against Northern Illinois, Riley Leonard was not that.
Yeah, this is too big of a game for Notre Dame season, for Marcus Freeman's career, to be stubborn and like you just have to play Riley Leonard because you spent all this money on him or whatever the case may be. You got to win this football game. Key number 2 is another good one for this Notre Dame versus Purdue in-state game, getting disruptive up front, because Notre Dame's D-line has definitely left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, it's basically just taking all the things that Notre Dame didn't do against NIU and just kind of transferring over to this game is what we're talking about here. Notre Dame has 1 sack this season, and it was an extraordinary effort by Howard Cross to get to Connor Wegman in that football game. Third down, I believe it was, get off the field. Like, that's what you're looking for. For that to only happen 1 time so far, if you're Notre Dame, inexcusable. And it's really the guys in the middle, I would say. I'll get to the defensive ends in a minute, but if you're Howard Cross and Riley Mills, you have to have some pride. And Riley Mills came into his press conference on Tuesday and said all the right things, like, hey, when we're really playing hard, we're really good. We saw that from Notre Dame last season. The sacks were a little bit of an issue last year as well, but they got quarterback pressures. They got quarterback hurries. Against Northern Illinois, you didn't see enough of that. And Ethan Hampton, it's not like he's supposed to light the world on fire. He didn't against Notre Dame, but he made a couple of throws that were good enough to get NIU by Notre Dame in that game. And to me, that reflects poorly on the defensive line, because that means those guys didn't do enough to kind of disrupt him and whatnot. That's the word that we're looking at on this video right here, disruptive. You have to be that if you're Notre Dame. Of course, that goes for the interior of the defensive line, but I also think it goes for the pass rushers as well. And that's RJ Open showing up, just showing up. It's as simple as that. Just play football to the point of where Marcus Freeman, Al Washington can trust you out there. That hasn't happened yet for RJ Oben. Jordan Botelho's been good. I think he's been disruptive in the running game, but I mean, if you're the Viper defensive end at Notre Dame, you're supposed to get after the quarterback. We saw that with Isaiah Foskey for a couple seasons, 11 sacks. Jordan Botelho's not that player. I don't think he's ever going to be that player in an Irish uniform, but go get your guys 1, right, Mike? Like, go get 1 sack or go hit the quarterback 1 time. You haven't really seen that from him. If Boubacar Traore, I don't want to put too much on a sophomore's shoulders, but if you're going to play 25 snaps, 30 snaps in a football game, you got to go do the same thing. Get after the quarterback, because let's say this. Purdue has a good one in Hudson Card, and he's elusive. And if you don't get after him, and if he gets comfortable back there, he'll manipulate the pocket if he has to and move around it and make some really good throws. So you have got to be disruptive up front if you're Notre Dame.
Could be the coming out party game for Bryce Young,
Yes.
potentially. If Birdham, we're unsure of his status right now. We'll learn more before kickoff. If Oben is just unsuccessful and gets benched like he did last week, it could be the Boubacar Traore and Jordan Botello and Bryce Young show. In
Wouldn't that
terms
be
of
exciting? Traore and Young, like that's the future of this defensive line. And I think they're going to be really good together. But right now, Notre Dame needs something from anyone, and that includes your younger guys. So yeah, the coming out party, the breakout party would be very much welcomed if you're a Notre Dame fan.
So in this video that I usually do with Tim was unable to record with me. Just couldn't find a time, so I got Tyler in here. Tyler, I feel like you got this one right out of this is a nod to Tim Hyde. This just the abstract key here. So for key number 3, you have don't overthink it. So what's on your mind with this, Tyler?
It's both sides of the ball. Let's get specific first. You have a guy in Jeremiah Love who's your best offensive player. Give him the football. He only got the football 11 times against NIU. The play of the game for Notre Dame's offense was, well, play of the games were probably on the bad end of the spectrum, but if you're looking at the positive end of things, it's that 34-yard touchdown. When Jeremiah Love jumped over that guy and ran 20 more yards into the end zone for a 34-yard score, I don't know about you, Mike, but I was sitting in the press box at Notre Dame Stadium thinking, Notre Dame's going to win this game. Like, that's the play that they need.
Yep.
And if you just give him the ball a few more times, maybe he does it again or gets a first down to put you in field goal range where you get that extra score that you needed. Just give him the ball. 11 times isn't enough. Quite frankly, I'm a big Jadarian Price guy, but what I've seen in the first couple of games, he's a little bit boom or bust. He's feast or famine. You've seen the 47-yard touchdown, but then you've seen a lot of carries where he's a little indecisive and doesn't know where to go. But look, if you can get the 47-yard touchdown out of him, you can get the 15-yard rush that he had against NIU, which was really good first down out of him. He probably needs the ball more than 4 times as well. So don't overthink it. If you have a quarterback who's struggling, give your running backs the ball. I don't look. Here's the thing to me, Mike, and this is overthinking it. If you think that your offensive line needs to be groomed, and they're young guys, we know this. That was the storyline 2 weeks ago. How does it make any sense to let Riley Leonard, who's struggling passing, throw the ball 32 times, dropping back behind that offensive line? If you just give the ball to Price or Love, they're probably going to make a play no matter what the offensive line is doing up front. So that's not overthinking it on the offensive side. I'll be short on the defensive side. You're good. You're good football players. Be disruptive, like I said, in key number 2. If you're on the back end, Benjamin Morrison, I think, was overthinking the 83-yard touchdown. Was he not, Mike, when he went up and gambled? So just don't overthink it. Just play football. You're good football players on that side of the ball.
Yeah, Ben Morrison just couldn't decide what to do on that play. I don't know if it was overthinking or underthinking. It was
or underthinking, yeah.
Something. All right, we always like to in this video look at the Odd Shark prediction. So this is Odd Shark is like a gambling information website to try to give you some more information and keys and whatever for that angle. For the A&M game, they had Notre Dame winning big. For the Northern Illinois game, they had Notre Dame winning by just a little. It's like 10 points or something, which for NIU game, 4 touchdown favorite, that was little. Of course, we would have definitely accepted as a Notre Dame community a 10-point win, but here we are. For this Purdue game, they got Notre Dame 41, Purdue 13. Now, this says the spread consensus is 9. I've seen it from anywhere between like 9 and 10.5 or 11, I feel like, this week. But this says Notre Dame's a 9-point favorite, and the over-under's at 45.5, which I feel like has been the over-under for like the first 3 games. So their prediction, of course, is Notre Dame winning, covering the spread, and the total blowing past the over. So I'll start my score prediction, Tyler. I got 28-16 for the Irish when I did our prediction for the magazine a week ago. It was... I thought it was going to be more like 38-10 or something, but going 28-16, close in the first half. Notre Dame pulls away more in the second half. It's one of those games where they win by 12, but sort of fairly comfortably, if that makes sense. I know your score prediction is pretty similar.
Yeah, very similar. And I changed it similarly as well. I think for the magazine prediction, I had 41-17, which is about what Odd Shark is showing you there. I don't believe that Notre Dame is going to score over 40 points. And I do believe that it's going to be a closer margin, like you said, Mike. I think that 9-point margin We both have score lines that are right around there. I'm going Notre Dame 31, Purdue 20. I do think Purdue can score some points in this game. I mentioned Hudson Card, a former Texas quarterback, been in college football for quite a while, pretty competent player. Graham Harrell, his offensive coordinator, competent OC. Ryan Walters, second year of a head coach, tends to be better than the first. So I do think Purdue does some decent things in this game. But here's what I'll end with, Mike, a little analogy, a little comparison going back to the 2022 season. You remember when Notre Dame lost to Marshall, then barely beat Cal, and everyone was saying, oh, God, they're going on the road to play undefeated North Carolina. This is going to be ugly. That's when Drake May was like at the height of his powers as a UNC quarterback. Notre Dame comes out and scores 45 points out of nowhere in that game when, listen to this, the first 3 games of that season, they scored 10 points against Ohio State, 21 points against Marshall. Was it 21 points also against Cal or 20 points against Cal? Right around
Something
there.
like that, yeah.
45 against UNC. We talked about Purdue has a shaky defense. I wouldn't be shocked if somehow Riley Leonard all of a sudden becomes a magic man. Mike Denbrock calls a beautiful game. That's what Tommy Rees did against UNC back then. I think it was 45-32 final. Not as many points in this one, but I think that it could go similarly, like you said, Mike, close in the beginning, and then Notre Dame says, hey, we're going to figure something out and score a few touchdowns and win this ball game.
Yeah, 11.5 minutes in. We haven't even mentioned Riley Leonard's shoulder, so it's like, will they run him much? Is it bothering him throwing? All eyes are going to be on Riley Leonard. I had no thoughts of Notre Dame Purdue being this huge game, pivotal game for Marcus Freeman, and the intrigue about number 13 for the Irish on offense is.
Do we see Steve Angeli? Do we see Steve Angeli in any capacity?
I think in our predictions, I would say no. I don't think so. But I would not be surprised in the slightest, Tyler, if we do see him. And what we want to see you guys do is hit the thumbs up on this video. So make sure you do that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Much more on blueandgold.com previewing this game. And you can also use the promo code UND1, $1 for 2 months of premium access. That's all of our football coverage, all of the recruiting intel, and so much more over on the website. Appreciate you guys. And as always, we will catch you next time.